Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor, in the studio here online with Tom Santanello. And we're doing our sneak preview of our new show. We're focusing more on the reality of football and the news, notes, and quotes, fire and ice. And guess who is the fire in the show? It's Tom Santanello. What's going on, Tom?
What's going on?
I think that we got to explain to people kind of why we're coming up with this, the name, a little bit of background in regards to this. Do you want to kind of give the spin on it, or should I? You want to go ahead?
Well, it's just going to be more focusing on football. Obviously, even this show will have a fantasy impact to it. But, you know, a lot of the shows out there, a lot of people don't really know what they're talking about. They don't speak the truth. It's just a lot of fluff, a lot of bullshit. Right. So we're just talking football and giving it to them the way it is.
Right. I want to add that reality spin because that was one of the things a lot of my listeners kept saying. Joe, there's a lot of fantasy. Well, why don't we get like a reality spin on it? And I want to cover the news and notes as well. And of course, some of the fantasy impact involved in that as well. So before we get into that, guys, make sure you guys get the 16-round draft solution to prepare for the fantasy football season. And of course, guys, smash the thumbs up. We appreciate the thumbs up. We want to get this message out to more people and get more people informed with that realistic approach to sports analysis. So it's very important that you guys do smash that thumbs up and engage below. I'll try to get back to as many comments as below, and I'll get Tom to interact with you guys as well. If you guys don't know who Tom is actually a pro football insider. He's been an NFL agent. He's totally immersed in football, has a good understanding of not only the game in reality, but also the players, coaches, and the entire kind of umbrella of football here. So glad to have you on, Tom, and I'm excited about Fire and Ice. So
thanks.
All right.
I'm sorry.
The Fire and Ice name. So we're thinking about this. I'm Northeast. He's, out in Miami. So I was thinking Fire and Ice. It's cold here. But then I thought I'm kind of ice cold, right? I got freezing cold takes and stuff like that. And he's more realistic. And I'm also really, really ice cold and saying players suck. And he's more kind of like Joe, come on, man. These are real players. They have feelings, stuff like that. So, that's what kind of how we came up with Fire and Ice, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. In this show will be like news, notes, and quotes from the week, and we'll incorporate different things, have a couple shows during the week. But a lot of people don't know what to believe. You read things in the media, you don't know what's true. I mean, I've been through it. I know a lot of the bullshit when I see it. A lot of people just report, and they don't know what they're talking about. So we're just going to discuss some current events that have happened this week. And you can give your spin. I mean, we can, give it a little fantasy kick on some of it too this week, and then just go with the flow. It's the off season. So we're just, working different things into the mix.
I think the news and notes episode is very important. You guys need to know what's going on, what's up in the past week, and what that impact is, not only for fantasy, but reality. So Tom's got all the headlines. I'm going to let him kind of navigate, the news and notes, and I'll chime in. So what made the news this past week? So we're doing for May 16th. Now it's Saturday. So this past week, there were some good headlines that made the news. Let's talk about it, Tom. What do you got?
Some of them are going to be a little more important than others. Some of them, you're probably going to laugh at. Sammy Watkins, he claims to put the Chiefs on notice with World War III and a little bit of a threat. He wants 100 targets. He said, I'm praying and hope they do right by me if I go back. And he is back in Kansas City. He says, if they don't, it's going to be World War III. He claims to want 100 targets. Obviously that's an offense that spreads the ball. Andy Reid, they've had success. I mean, they won the Super Bowl, but they have, a top tight end in the AFC. They got another great wide receiver over there, and they drafted a really good running back. And I don't think, anybody gives a shit about what he's saying, but how does that make you feel?
Laughing. Sorry, Sammy Watkins, years to wow me. I'm not wowed. Tom, I can't stop laughing at this. Hey, listen, Tom, I want a cape, but I want to fly super fast too. And I want superhuman speed. I want a Lamborghini right now. I want to go in and pay cash for a Lamborghini. I want to pick it up today, even though they're on back order. Listen, let's be realistic here, man. Tyreek Hill's the guy. McCole Hardman's come in and stepped up in that offense. They got pass catch and scat backs. They got Pat Mahomes run the ball when he wants to. They got Kelsey. This guy's dreaming. He's delusional. I don't agree with that at all. I like the ambition. Don't get me wrong, but come on, Tom. Let's be realistic. Is that really going to happen? 100 targets?
I don't think so. But I mean, if there's a little backstory here, he was a top 5 pick. He was supposed to be, I don't want to say the next Jerry Rice, but he was labeled as one of, the most talented receivers to come in years into the NFL. Guys that go really early in the draft. I mean, Julio Jones didn't even go top 5, the AJ Greens, those kind of guys. But, then he came out last week, said he had some depression. He was drinking a lot, and, living up to the hype was really hard. Was it excuses, Joe, or was it just bullshit? I mean, a lot of, there's an old saying, just fucking do it. And it's been years and years. He was injured all the time. He says he wanted out of Buffalo. I mean, a lot of players don't like to play in Buffalo. It is, but you take the hand you're dealt. You handed, $20 million contract. You got to show up and do your job, not drink every day. And when it was every day, but now, I mean, maybe he feels like he's reached a different level in his career and he's ready to be that one receiver. But I mean, why sign with Kansas? Resign? I mean, I think he was under contract, renegotiated. But if he wants that shot, he's going to have to go somewhere else. I hate to say it, like Buffalo, not there, but where he can actually get those targets. But he's going to have to prove himself again. He had a few good games last year, but there, without barring some major injuries on that team, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, it is good and reassuring that Watkins is doing this. He's got the positive attitude. Maybe he's turning over the new leaf, but I'm not sold. Years to wow me, Tom, and guess what? I'm not wowed. Let's move on here. Let's move on.
In no position to make demands.
Exactly. That's a good way to say it. Zero weight being held here. So yeah, let's move on.
Next up on the list is a little different. There was I guess the little cookout robbery this week. I don't know if you read about it in the news. It was one of the more astonishing, surprising, fucking crazy things I've ever seen. I mean, DeAndre Baker, 2019 first-round pick of the New York Giants. Quentin Dunbar, been in the league about 5 years, undrafted free agent, came out of the University of Florida as a wide receiver, transitioned to corner, was traded to the Seahawks this year for a 5th-round pick. Baker is a little different kind of player. Dunbar has never really had any problems in the league that I've heard of. Used to know a few people that played with him at Florida. I don't know what's true and what's not true. I've never seen anything as crazy as this before. I mean, I guess they lost $70,000 playing cards the night before, allegedly. And then allegedly they stuck some people up at the cookout, made off with a couple watches, a lot of money. But then the witnesses came forward, and the next day their lawyers all of a sudden on social media, which, I actually have a law degree. I was a lawyer. I've never seen any lawyers post comments on social media. They have now, those witnesses have flipped somehow. It's almost like a little Sopranos episode. The cookout in Miami turned a little crazy, I'd say. I've never seen anything like this. I don't know what's going on out there, but it was pretty wild.
Exactly? Can you explain this to me? What did they say they did? What's the alleged thing that they did? What happened?
Well, they were at the cookout, and one of the gentlemen pulled a gun and was directing the other player and another gentleman to go take people's watches and money. Kind of crazy.
That's nuts. I mean, you got everything going for you. This is what I don't get with the off-field issues, and it's a lot of, maybe it's mental issues and stuff like that, and people have the mental depression and stuff like that. But you got everything going for you, man. I mean, I don't understand why you kind of throw it away like this, Tom.
Joe, DeAndre, he's had some issues. They're both from Miami, from Liberty City, tough area, from what I believe. I don't even know. I know they were close friends. I don't know. But you don't have to be close friends to get in a bad situation with someone. Maybe they were gambling. I mean, it's the off season, but it's really not supposed to be the off season. They're supposed to be training with their teams. But because of the pandemic, hey, more people get into trouble this time. It's funny. It happened about 25 minutes from my house where I live. And it's just one of those things. I don't know what kind of cookout it was. I don't know if there were kids there. I don't know if it was just friends. Who knows what it was, but it was one of the most interesting things I've ever seen. And 2 days later, they didn't even turn themselves in. I believe this morning, I think one of the players turned themselves in.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that.
Honestly, the lawyers are signing affidavits, trying to take the law. Like, I've just never seen anything like it. So I mean, it's all on social media, this, that, tagging the Seahawks, the police. It's just crazy. It's a funny situation. It's not funny, but it's kind of comical that they would even, I don't know, just to be involved in something like that. But I mean, there's no, on your side, fantasy impact of players like that. Probably see what happens. It'd be interesting to follow because those types of things you see in movies.
Well, defensive players, I don't really care as much about. But listen to this. So as of today, May 16th, a couple hours ago, by the time we're recording this, cornerback DeAndre Baker turned himself into the police this morning. That's what they're saying. So, Baker turned himself in. Yeah.
I mean, they had to get lawyer up first. The police will come and find you if you don't turn yourself in. And I mean, listen, you just treaded in dangerous water. I mean, the lawyer's trying to say, I had witnesses say he didn't do it. All right, case closed. That's not how it works. you know. And I mean, it's not like most football fans, not even fantasy fans, most football fans don't even know who these guys are.
No.
You know, DeAndre Baker was kind of a bust as a rookie last year, played really, really bad. I think he was the 30th pick in the draft. Dunbar, you know, he's a serviceable guy, you know, undrafted. He's okay, but most guys don't even know who these guys are. It's just they're NFL athletes. They listen, maybe they didn't do it. I don't know, but just to be involved in a story like this is fucking crazy.
All right, let's move on here. I know you've got the headlines. I don't know if this is in the headlines, but let me just interject here and interrupt you here. Ty Montgomery, this may be somewhat fantasy relevant, but this guy kind of sucks anyway. Ty Montgomery has now signed. He was a free agent, has now signed with the Saints. Again, what's the point of this? I mean, the guy's going to ride the pine anyway.
Yeah, I didn't have that in there. I don't find that relevant just because I think his best days are behind him. I don't even know if you want to call his days good. He's had a few good games in his career.
Yeah.
But to me, he's not relevant.
No, not at all. But I just had to bring that up. And also Hilliard, too. The running back for the Browns was re-signed as well. It's funny. Whenever I hear this, man, yeah, signed to ride the pine, right? Pine, I'm trying to make it right. Signed to ride the pine. There's my joke right there. I mean, he's not going to see the field. Like, it's just depth, really.
Listen, a lot of these teams bring players in as camp bodies. Training camp. Now they may bring him in for insurance. If somebody gets hurt in camp, they'll bring him in, and he could end up making the team, you know, if there's an injury in camp. And a lot of coaches don't know what's going on right now because they haven't seen their players. They're not working out.
The good news. Let's talk about the good news. I don't know what order you have this laid out. It's our first show doing news and notes here, but let's talk about the facilities being opened up. Can you dive into that? May 19th, the team facilities open, but there's restrictions in regards to how many people are allowed. I think it's max 75 or something like that. Can we dive into that?
Joe, max 75, but no coaches are allowed. So, I mean, the players aren't allowed to work out with the coaches. So just the facility, unless you're a rehab, and I'm sorry, then you can work out with the trainers. Not work out, but you can rehab. So it's kind of like, you know, what most of the country, it's a phase one. But there's not going to, it's progress, but it's not going to be like teams are going to be together. However, there's going to be some players that are arranging their own workouts. Some Deshaun Watson's going to be working out with Brandon Cooks. I talked to somebody I know down in Houston that's supposed to be being arranged. So people are going to do it on their own without the coaches in their cities. And as soon as the NFL gives it a go, they're going to be in the facilities. In my opinion, I think it could happen. You know, they could have an OTA session in June. But definitely by training camp, or maybe they push back OTAs happen at the end of June and then training camp end of July. But it is progress, but it's nothing to be like, you know, there's no coaches allowed. So it's not going to be anywhere that you're going to be there, but they'll still be able to build rapport and work out together. If they want to.
You're killing my buzz. I'm actually getting excited about this, man. This is a good sign that things are moving forward and that the season's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's real. I'm just giving you, you know, realistically, it is a good thing because you need things happen in steps. And the one thing you got to understand is they want equality. Just because you live where I live in Florida, they allow a lot of things. In Texas, they allow a lot of things. But in certain states, California, they might not even have anything for a year. So like the NFL wants equality. They want everybody to be able to do the same thing at the same time. So nobody has an unfair advantage.
Isn't the crazy thing that like all of these things are happening with the NFL right now? Like things are kind of business as usual mentality. You know, the draft happened. Now they're opening up facilities, but no one's actually come out and made a formal statement saying season's going to happen. I mean, don't we want to hear that? Or I guess they can't say that. Do you know anything about that? You would think that there'd be some sort of reassurance at this point.
Well, they can't come for 100% sure, but I mean, they just announced the schedule last week. So that's implying that the season's going to happen. Everybody's operating, everybody's operating that it's going to happen. Nobody is, even the governor here in the state of Florida said they can use the University of Florida up in Gainesville Stadium for, say, God forbid, California doesn't want to have football. He's going to say, hey, Rams, come and play in Florida. So Arizona, I believe, said the same thing too. Certain states are opening up their collegiate stadiums to NFL teams. So a lot of people, they are planning on having a season.
I'm not.
They don't know if there's always those far left liberals. They're going to say, oh, no, you can't say this. Some crazies out there, but everyone's operating as it is happening.
I'm not liking California, man. I'm not liking how strict they are with everything. I heard that things aren't even going to really open up till August 1st. They want to push it that far back, and all this talk about no football or sports in their state and stuff like that. I find them really, really annoying with this stuff. I mean, I mean,
yeah, unfortunately, that's pretty bad. I don't know what's going. I mean, I've talked to some people that lived out there. Everyone's upset. People are thinking about moving out of there. I mean, they're putting homeless people up in the Ritz-Carlton. They're trying to. It's just out of control. I mean, I don't want to get into political stuff, but that's just
let's stay away from the political.
It's a mess.
Taxes suck there as well, I heard too.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place though, but unfortunately, it's just it's a mess out there. And I think you got people making decisions that for the wrong reasons, and I'll leave it at that.
All right, so let's move on to the next thing. But yeah, facilities.
Next thing is, the offensive coordinator, Dirk Coder of the Atlanta Falcons. He came out and said about Todd Gurley, this is a quote, the main question is that no one seems to know is what his health status.
Right.
Okay. Then they go out and say, what's his workload? He averaged 17 touches a game last year, which is a little bit lower than he had when he was an all-pro. We're going to have to find that out once we get here and get him working, get him up and running. Okay, he's just basically the only running back that they can count on that roster, and they have no – listen, this is a gamble. Let me backtrack. This is a huge gamble they made. This is a home run or a strikeout. There's no in-between in this one.
Yeah, so the big question is Todd Gurley ready? I mean, yeah, he's the only guy they've got now, and I love him for fantasy as of right now. He's set for a prime here. His average ADP right now in fantasy is in and around second round, early second. He varies. He's all around the second round there in regards to picking him up. I love the talent, love the upside, and we saw flashes of him coming back to form with the Rams last year when they finally started to utilize him. He's a goal line vulture. No one else there is going to, who they got there, Brian Hill, all these bottom feeder guys. This guy is elite talent. I think he eats, but yeah, this suspect situation with his arthritis is going to be a thorn. And if he comes out and plays, and then they say, oh, well, we got to preserve him, and then that's really going to hurt people for fantasy. I still like him as part of a robust RB strategy. I'm gonna go ahead and draft him.
The problem you're going to have is even if he's healthy, you don't know if he's going to be have the explosiveness he had. I've talked to a few people that watch the film and the X's and O's, and they don't see him being his old self. They said he did not look like it last year. He couldn't handle the touches from the years before. That's why they were lower. And if you remember at the end of 2 years ago, he barely, he wasn't playing as much towards the last few games of the season on their Super Bowl run. So he might never be what he was. And when he's at the top of his game, he's unbelievable. But I don't know if you know this, but since he was at college, he never put 2 years together in a row that were phenomenal. He's always battled injuries. He's always battled inconsistency. And this was another bad signing by the Rams. Quarterback, receiver, running back, horrible.
Right.
Sign people too early. This is what happens when you sign guys too early. They did that they didn't have to sign Goff that early. Terrible decision. They didn't have to sign Gurley that, this early. And Cooks, look at that. All the three of those guys. I mean, Goff is still there, but not performing at a high level. But with Gurley, you don't know if he's going to be the player he was. This is a huge risk, huge reward, any way you look at it, whether it's reality, whether it's fantasy, whether it's just for the Falcons. I mean, without him, where do they turn? I mean, you still have Devontae Freeman as a free agent. He's probably not going to go back there, obviously.
No.
You got a couple other guys like Carlos Hyde and stuff like that who might go to Philly, but they're banking on him. They're banking on this guy.
Yeah. There's got to be more certainty around that knee. That's all I got to say. All right, let's move on here, Tom. What else we got in news?
A couple lesser known players that probably won't excite you as much. Newest Patriot wide receiver, Marquise Lee, says he's just ready to get at it. Any relevance for this guy? A couple years ago, he had a couple good years where it looked like he was going to live up to his potential or kind of reach that. But, he battled some injuries, missed, I think, an entire year. Can he put it together? And if he's healthy and actually be a weapon there?
No, years to wow me. I'm not wowed. I mean, we don't know. We don't know with Stidham, man. This guy could be a stud. Yeah. I mean, you never know, right? I mean, he could gravitate to him. He could be the guy, but that's a long shot. When you have a guy fall off that, have you ever seen that? A guy falls off so low, it's very hard to kind of bring it back up and into gear. I don't know. I don't see it. Especially Jacoby Myers could be some upside there, right?
No, especially with injury, though. When a guy falls because of injury, you just don't know if the guy can come back.
Right.
Honestly, I've seen a lot of injuries throughout my day in players. I mean, listen, the medical, technology and the surgeries have transformed more than anything over the years. If you remember when Jerry Rice tore his ACL years and years ago, I mean, guys never used to recover from that. Nowadays, guys come in. Adrian Peterson, like set a record, came in like 6 or 8 months, but usually it's like 10, 8 to 10 months, 10 to 12 months before a guy comes back, and then it's really the following year before he can really perform. But I don't, guys that coming back from injuries. Which let me hop up to another guy, a blast from the past who was supposed to be a big player years ago. Jerick McKinnon signed a big contract with the 49ers. He's optimistic for a 2020 return.
Right.
I mean, you can't really put anything. That's another long shot. But if he comes back, he could be what the 49ers need if he was going to live up to his potential. But coming back from those injuries, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's going to be tough again coming back. But just going back to the Patriots, their depth chart: Edelman, Harry, Sanu, Jacoby Myers, Marquise Lee, and Bird. I mean, who's going to step up there? Obviously, Edelman. N'Keal Harry, we don't know, right? And it depends on who Stidham is going to gravitate to. I was talking to a Patriots guy. He said Jacoby Myers and Stidham could be a good connection. Those guys have some support.
Personally, I think the two tight ends, if you remember years ago, they went to Aaron Hernandez and Gronk when they were in their prime over the wide receivers. And I think they just drafted two tight ends early. I think they're going to come up with some two tight end sets. They're going to go with the running backs. And I also think in New England, N'Keal Harry, they drafted him early 2 years ago, and I think they're going to give him the shot.
Hopefully. I mean, I think the talent is there, so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. In regards to McKinnon, I'm not sold. Just staying away from that situation for
okay. Well, what about let's move on. Urban Meyer said Dwayne Haskins needs great players, elite culture. Now he basically says you bring any rookie quarterback in to a horrible team, they're going to be surrounded by horrible people, horrible players. You're not giving them a chance to really succeed. So it's not fair sometimes when you put a guy in the situation with bad players around him. But he's basically saying this guy has a chance to be really good. You just need to put good players around him. And that's true. It's true. But certain players will do more with those players. I mean, you can look at Michael Jordan, what he did with Steve Kerr, punching him in the face, turning him, making it into shots if you're watching The Last Dance. But certain players, I mean, have that it factor inside them to make the players around them better. I don't think Dwayne Haskins has that. But Dwayne Haskins, I mean, what's your opinion on him?
Again, I didn't see anything special or flashy the first year. And when you see that, when Mahomes came in, it's like a plug and play. He was, action. Kyler Murray, plug and play, and he did good. He did really good. I just find the guys that don't really impress early don't tend to hit that ceiling and don't become the ultra elite. Again, that's kind of based on my experience and the feeling I've seen from the past. So I'm not sold on Haskins. It seems like the Redskins are. They're all in on him. He may come out, and he has some pretty decent receivers, McLaurin, some other weapons there. I don't know. I'm just not sold. I'm not excited. I don't get like, oh, I want to get his rookie card and put it on a plaque and put it in my room in my man cave. I don't care for him, man. Maybe we could be wrong. We could be completely wrong here.
Yeah, I mean, Urban Meyer went to talk about what he accomplished in college. I mean, I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but it's tough because he had some flashes at the end of the season, but I think this is his year. I mean, you look at a guy like Mitch Trubisky who showed some flashes, then he took a huge nosedive this year. And you kind of get to see the example, where is he going to go? Where's the trajectory? Is he going to go up or down after last year? And I think it's something to keep an eye on. It's weird. That division last year, it was wide open. This year, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Carson Wentz had an MVP season. They were 13-3, or they were 6-10. The Giants, I mean, I don't think they can win the division, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're competitive. The Cowboys, I mean, who knows with them? So it's a really funny division over there. So, I mean, if he comes and steps it up, yeah, but I mean, my money's not on them, I don't know. I think they got about 17 running backs on that team. I think they're going to new coach. I think he wants a new culture in there though. And I think he's going to see what he has. He was a first round pick. I think the owner said, let's give it a shot with him. And, they took the best player in the draft, Chase Young. And they're just going to try to build the culture, and they're going to try. Maybe they just try to build from within and see if Haskins can kind of be a game manager, much like they're going to do it with the Bears in Chicago. They're going to try to win ugly, win on defense, and hopefully Foles can march him down the field and win a few games. That's what they're going to try to do.
I want to switch the tone here real quickly, just for 2 seconds. I want to talk about RB committees, because you went in there and you said, hey, man, they got like 30 running backs. And they do. Now, I want to tell you how much. Let's talk about fantasy. And I want to do this kind of its own segment. I want to talk about this. And I'm really passionate about this. And I'm really angry about this, Tom. Let's deep dive into this. RB committees. Now, for example, I'm wearing a Colts shirt right now. You know, the Colts actually, we're going to do a whole show on this, by the way. The Colts acquire and draft Jonathan Taylor, workhorse running back. They got Marlon Mack, who in my opinion sucks. And they're going to be a committee. And look at the Redskins, man. You were just talking about them. Darius Peterson, Antonio Gibson, Peyton Barber. I mean, the guy sucks. The guy's done nothing at all with the Buccaneers. They acquire him. Bryce Love, who looked really talented out of college, who was banged up, and McKissick. Bryce Love could be the starter on his own. Forget everybody else. Then you've got Geis, who could be a starter on his own. Forget everybody else. You know, Antonio Gibson's got a pretty high ceiling potentially. What is this? Why are teams doing this? I hate it. Now, the Eagles, I want to chime in here real quick. I love, as of right now, when you're watching this video, it's mid-May. You know, Miles Sanders is on his own, but there's talk about acquiring Carlos Hyde. Now, Carlos Hyde sucks as well. And especially for fantasy, that's what I'm talking about. He's not good enough to be ultra elite like a Zeke, but he's good enough to come in and hoard away a lot of that volume from Miles Sanders. I'm angry, Tom. I need you to calm me down. Why are teams doing this? It's bugging me.
Well, you know, I got a few things to point out. Two of the next players on two articles and news and notes from the week are two guys. One is a team you mentioned. The other is a player. The Colts just said they had a 1-1 punch with Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor. I think that's kind of more of the new wave. And, you know, Adam Gase, he's a fan of running back by committee. He brought in Frank Gore, who's 37 years old. He's not on a huge contract. I mean, he's on $1 million with $200,000 guaranteed, I believe. So some of these coaches just want to keep their guys fresh. Just that's just the way the way they were brought up. That's the way they coach. Now the Frank Reich, who's in Indianapolis, he did a lot of that in Philadelphia when he was there during their Super Bowl run and before. Some of these, that's just their mentality. That's how they coach. Sometimes it's to keep the guys fresh. Sometimes it's because, you know, they don't have a great quarterback. They kind of want to spread the ball around. They want a guy that can bring different dimensions. A lot of these guys coming up, and you could compare it to basketball. Like you know how basketball, a lot of these come up and all they do is score, like a Carmelo Anthony. They don't play D. They don't do this. A lot of these running backs coming up, you know, things have changed. They're more fancy. They don't know how to pass protect. So they want to get certain guys into the game and you know, show off their strengths in certain situations. A lot of running backs can't pass protect, and a lot of running backs can't catch the ball. I mean, A.J. Dillon's not a pass catcher in Green Bay when he got drafted. A lot of times also they want leadership. Adam Gase brought in a 37-year-old Frank Gore. I don't know what's going to happen there. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he got released in training camp, but Frank Gore is not going there to get, you know, 50 touches. He wants the ball at 37 years old. But Frank Gore, he's probably wants sometimes leadership in the locker room, sometimes leadership in the running back room. There's a lot of different reasons why you do a running back by committee. A lot of times is because you don't believe in who you have as well.
That's it.
Yeah, and you're worried about injury because a lot of these GMs and these coaches, I'm not going to go through the list, and you can really do your research if you want. They've been through things where they've been burnt in the past. I mean, you remember a few years ago when the Steelers went to the playoffs? I think that was the year I think they let LeGarrette Blount go in the middle of the year. I think he got in trouble, or early in the year he went to the Patriots. I think they ended up winning the Patriots. They didn't even have a running back in the playoffs.
Right.
So you do not want to be that team without a backup, whether it's quarterback, running back. I mean, the Eagles just took Jalen Hurts and it was in the second round. I mean, you don't want to be that team without a second running back because there's a lot more injuries today too. You got to understand, and you have to look at it that way as well. And a lot of guys, they just stop, as you call it, they suck after a while. And you don't know when they're going to suck. I'm
rubbing off on you here. So
there's you don't know when a player is not going to have it anymore. You don't know when he's going to lose that speed. So it's almost like buying insurance. You have to buy insurance on a car. So they're buying insurance.
There's only a handful of running backs that are minimal committees. This is why I say load up on running backs very, very early. These are the almost guaranteed workhorses. We got Barkley, Zeke, Henry, CMC, Jacobs, Leonard Fournette, Gurley, and David Johnson, pretty much. I might be missing somebody, and Mixon maybe as well. I may be missing somebody here, but bottom line is, guys, like, why can't everybody believe in their players like the Cowboys believe in Zeke? Why don't they acquire running backs that are as talented as Zeke instead of getting a bunch of scrubs and hoping that one of them shines? It bothers me, Tom.
Well, you need to understand one thing. Look at every position in the NFL. Just look at wide receivers. There's not a, however many, there's not a one receiver for every team. There's not a starting quarterback to go through every team. There's just not enough good running backs that can be that. Listen, if Jonathan Taylor was that good, he would have went in the top 10, top 15. There's not enough quality running backs to be pure running back starters. The proof is in the pudding with quarterbacks. Just look, how many guys are actually surefire starting? I mean, Tannehill got paid. You think they want Tannehill? No, there's no other options. Wide receivers, there's just not enough good wide receivers to be number one wide receivers in the NFL. There's not.
And then you have the Eagles pay Wentz. They kind of believe, oh, this is our future Tom Brady. Like, what is their mind thinking?
Well, listen, he had a great year. I know you don't like him, but he had a phenomenal year. Number one, they moved up to get him. If you're a GM and you let it all out, you let it hang, and you go up to get a guy, they're doubling down. We gave up draft picks to go up and get Carson Wentz. He was our guy then. He's going to be our guy for 10 years. I don't know how bad the injury affected him. I think, he didn't play as good the year before. Last year he didn't play as good. Now this is going to be it. I mean, this is really, really, really see how he plays. But then there's going to be more excuses. They didn't have the weapons around him last year. They had no wide receivers. The running situation sucked. I mean, but that's the problem from within. The Eagles never had that. They just had that magical season. They made a lot of trades, even on the defensive side. Jalen Mills was a 7th round pick as a corner. Ronald Darby, they traded for. They were supposed to sign him to a huge, massive deal, but then he just plummeted. Their team kind of fell apart as a whole. Now, you can't blame all that on the quarterback, kind of what Urban Meyer said to Haskins. You need good players around him. Jason Peters, their starting left tackle, I think he's moving on right now. I mean, he's 37, 38 years old, but he still was playing at a good level. I mean, they've had some good players on that team, but Wentz, they believe in him. I mean, and he had that really good year where he was unstoppable. I mean, he was unstoppable. So, I mean, they got rid of a couple guys. They still have Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar. I think, was he with the Raiders maybe? But you have Zach Ertz. They don't have a scary team. They just don't.
They just drafted Jalen Rigor.
Yeah, I mean, the jury's out. Jury's out on any rookie, but it's not a sexy pick. They need a lot more than that. I think Wentz has that magic, and Wentz is the type of guy, if you went back and watched the tape from a couple years ago, he didn't lock and load on one guy. He was bootlegging out here, out there. He was just, actually, let me backtrack. If you go watch his tape from his rookie year, he actually had a rookie year, kind of reminded me a little bit of Brett Favre. He threw a lot of interceptions, but he would take the chance. And then that second year, he fucking made improvements, and that's why they fell in love with him. That year after that he started, that year is when he made such good progress from year 1 to 2. It was remarkable. And those bad throws and those throws he forced his first year, he didn't do that his second year. Or if he did force them, they'd be on point and they'd be in the receiver's hands. So he had such a great year, but there's a lot of players that have one good year. So, unfortunately, the jury's always out on a guy like that. They always have an old saying. I mean, I do in the NFL, you really have to put together 3 good years in a row in order to be a good player. A lot of players, I'm not going to go through it, have had 1 good year, 2 good years. Stick to the Eagles. One of my next headlines you're going to laugh at. Lesean Mccoy would love to finish his career as an Eagle.
Oh, man, I don't like that guy. He is a pest, and this is what I'm talking about. Miles Sanders is the guy right now. Leave it alone. And the guy sucks. Let's say, what's his name? McCoy sucks now. He went in. He tried to be the guy in case he buzzkilled Darwin Thompson's value, buzzkills a lot of other people's value. Hoarded a couple touchdowns away from guys that could have been fantasy relevant. Damian Williams, who I wasn't a fan of, and told everybody to stay away from. Everyone was drafting him and was suggesting the mainstream was saying, draft this guy in the second round. I said, stay away. This guy was always a backup in Miami. He was like a 4th, 5th stringer. He's garbage. Then he comes on to Chiefs, and he's a product of the offense. Any type of success he had there was because he's a product of the offense. Then McCoy comes in, does this little wiggle shake move, carrying the ball 5 yards away from his body. It's like the guy sucks. Now he wants to go and buzz kills Miles Sanders. Like, fuck off, man.
Listen, that works when you're 25.
Time to retire.
And some people say he's a Hall of Fame player when he's done. I don't know. Jury's out. They signed Deshaun Jackson before. I mean, I don't know what they're doing in Philly. I mean, you can't bring this guy in there. I mean,
No.
he wasn't even active in the playoffs, was he, for Kansas City?
No, they kind of knew he sucked. He had fumble.
Yeah, I mean, and that was Andy Reid, who he had a great relationship with. But listen, it's tough. He made it a really long time in the NFL as a running back. He can walk out on his own. A lot of guys can't. He made it further than most people do. I think it's just time to hang it up.
He's going to buzzkill. I have a feeling him and Hyde.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think he will even get the opportunity to. How? I mean, I just think he doesn't have the talent anymore.
No, but they might just pity him. That's just, just nostalgic. He used to be on the Eagles. The same thing the Chiefs did. Let's just bring him on. He knows Reed. It's like a relationship thing. It's the politics of it. He get him. I don't know. He might not even play, but he might just be there enough to piss me off.
They won a Super Bowl. They have some leeway there. Their coach isn't on the hot seat right now. He's a good coach. A lot of people like him. I mean, the city of Philly loves them. I mean, they went deep in the playoffs the year after they won the Super Bowl, right? And last year they were right in the thick of things. I think they were up until the end of the year. They almost made the playoffs. So when you're that good and you're consistent, you're going to get a lot of passes. So I just don't think I don't know. I mean, they're talking about Carlos Hyde. Miles Sanders, I don't know how good he is. I don't know. I really don't know.
He looked good. He looked good. He was starting to put up some solid numbers.
Yeah, he did. But the Eagles, they got balls. They'll pull trades. They trade a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't like their team. They'll make some other moves. Lamar Miller's coming back from an injury too. He's still out there. Devontae Freeman's still out there. There's still some options for some of these teams. I don't know if they're exciting options, but they're options.
I don't want any of these guys. They're going to buzzkill somebody's value. And
listen, just because LeSean says he could see himself, finishing his career there doesn't mean the Eagles can.
Yeah, another Sammy Watkins situation. The delusion of these players, some of these players, years to wow me. I'm not wowed. All right,
let me ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
4 teams got new uniforms: Tampa, the Chargers, the Rams, the Falcons. Any thoughts?
I think the Falcons looked kind of cool. I haven't looked at all of them. I looked at the Rams and I looked at I thought the Falcons looked okay.
Yeah, I don't like the Rams. Tampa Bay is nice. The Chargers are nice. The Falcon, the Rams, I don't know what they're doing with those logos and everything.
It looks like the Chargers logo revamped.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, I'm not too sure. But other than that, I mean, that's pretty much what happened this week. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Other than I'm just kind of right now feeling out the Miles Sanders situation, feeling out if anyone else is going to come in and buzzkill someone else's value. And you're going to hear it. And that's when I go in and I'm really going to rip into these coaches and stuff. Why don't you believe in Sanders? Why don't you believe in this player? Like, I'm really still pissed off. I'm still trying to get over. I'm losing sleep over this whole Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack thing. If I'm a coach and I see Marlon Mack as a mediocre back and I get this potential workhorse, but we don't know, right? We don't know how it's going to translate to the NFL. That we're assuming he's going to be better than Marlon Mack. And that's the thing. So maybe these coaches are like, yeah, we're not going to assume. We know Marlon Mack is safe, Mr. Reliable. But I think it's time to move on. I don't think Mack is that good.
No, I mean, he started off good as a rookie and saw some flashes, and a lot of people thought he was going to be a really good running back, middle round pick. But I think Taylor's more talented. He's younger. And I mean, listen, if Taylor's year isn't this year, it's next year. But I think he could take that job this year. And I mean, they all say that. But what are you going to do? Listen, if you're a coach, what are you going to do? Saying, oh, there's no competition. It's Taylor's job. You can't say that. You can't say that for many reasons. One of them being, you need to create competition in camp. You can't just give a rookie a job. I mean, give Joe Burrow the job. Chase Young the job, but you can't give Jonathan Taylor the job. He didn't earn anything.
Zeke got it right off the bat. Barkley got it right off.
But they're top 5 picks.
Yeah.
This guy's a 2nd round pick. What are you going to do? DeAndre Swift, here's the job. No, you got to say, listen, you got to come in and earn it. You can't give shit away in the NFL. So I wouldn't read too much into some of that. That's what I was going to say about that. I mean, they're going to say that too, because listen, Taylor could come in and be a bust. Who says he's good? You don't know if he's good or not. Matt could come in and he could have lost 10 pounds and put on 5 pounds of muscle and start, I don't know, have a 2,000-yard season. Probably not. I don't know how guys are going to come in, especially rookies. I say this before and I'll say it again. There has been no off-season program. These rookies are home studying the playbook on Zoom and by themselves. I don't know. They don't have the rapport. That's going to be a factor with a lot of these rookies this year. Trust me.
Absolutely. All right, Tom, man, good show, guys. Make sure I'm going to try to do this. I say we do this every Saturday. We'll try to find a rhythm for it. We want to get the news and notes, and we also going to talk news and notes anyway, midweek anyway, for our Wednesday show. But there you have it, guys. A little football talk for you. A lot of people said, I kept getting asked, do the longer shows, Joe, because a lot of people want that for their commute and stuff. And I also got the request of football. So there you go, guys. We got fantasy, you've got football, you got everything on the Fantasy Ball Counselor podcast now. Insider Tom Santanello, counselor, thanks for being here. Tom, you look tired, man. We're going to let you go. Go enjoy Miami Heat right now.
Yeah, a little further from Miami, but that's all right. Close enough.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Make sure you guys smash the thumbs up. We need those thumbs ups. We appreciate it. And we're out. We'll see you guys soon.